I was on a business trip out of town when I unexpectedly stumbled upon a photo of our live-in nanny, Chloe, wearing my deep V lace nightgown. The background was my bedroom. It was so late. Why hadn't Chloe gone home? A sudden unease washed over me. I called Daniel, but he didn't answer. In the early hours of the morning, he texted me, "What's wrong?" I just fell asleep. Just then, Chloe updated her social media with an inspirational post. "Some loves are best left unquestioned. It's the greatest dignity you can give yourself." The next day, I called my son, Leo. "What delicious meal did Aunt make for you yesterday?" He paused for 2 seconds, then stammered, "Mom, Aunt called in sick and took the day off yesterday. She didn't come to our home." I immediately booked the next available flight and postponed an important client order I was working on, even though it was just one final step from being finalized tomorrow. Sitting on the plane, I was a mix of emotions. I couldn't bear the thought that my 8-year loving relationship with Daniel was shattered like this. I remembered when Leo was born, Daniel, worried I wouldn't get enough rest, specifically hired the most expensive nanny agency. When I saw it was a male nanny, I immediately requested a female one, fearing he might be careless with Leo. Daniel, however, refused with a stern face. I asked him why. He said very seriously, "I've seen too many cases of female nannies affecting a couple's relationship. While I would never do anything out of line, I'd always worry you'd be unhappy." I was amused. "So, you're not worried about me and a male nanny?" He instantly got agitated. "My would never. Our relationship wouldn't be affected by people like that." Listening to his sincere declaration of love, I couldn't help but stand on my tiptoes and kiss him. "That's why I trust you too, Daniel." But in the end, it had all become a cruel joke. After landing, I called Leo's writing instructor to confirm that Daniel had already picked him up. I immediately rushed to the nearest McDonald's. In our usual window seat, I saw Daniel and Leo. But there was no sign of Chloe, who had left with Daniel that morning. I heard Daniel's gentle voice, "Leo, send a message to Mom and tell her you didn't have any ice cream today, so she won't worry." I froze for a moment, and a wave of relief washed over me. Maybe I was overthinking things. Daniel loved me so deeply, he couldn't possibly do something like that. Leo's message came in. I smiled and opened it, thinking about how to praise him. But the next second, a playful, cooing voice rang out, "Is the picture taken? I've been hiding for so long. Leo, your ice cream is ready." I froze, my typing hand suspended over the screen. I looked up and saw Chloe, elegantly dressed. She wore an expensive white knit dress and carried the latest designer bag from a luxury brand, the very one I'd asked Daniel to buy for me, which he'd always made excuses that he couldn't find. It turned out it already belonged to someone else. Daniel immediately stood up to comfort her. "Are you mad? Isn't she checking up on us constantly? It's always better to be careful." Chloe humping softly as she sat down, "You're the one making the money, yet you always have to listen to her. She's so overbearing and inconsiderate." Leo happily licked his ice cream. "Exactly. She's like a shrew every day, not gentle like Chloe. And is prettier than that old hag." In an instant, my body swayed, and I almost fell to the floor. Could these words truly come from the son I had poured my heart and soul into raising for 6 years? My heart turned to ice. If infidelity meant our love had simply run dry, how could the bond between a mother and son change so casually? I remembered how sweet and well-behaved Leo used to be in front of me. How had he been taught to be so ill-mannered now? Rain started to fall outside. I could only hide quietly by the window, my heart burning with an unshakable restlessness. "But there's nothing we can do, she's still your mom," Chloe sighed. She then cast a probing glance at Daniel. Daniel took a bite of his burger, his face expressionless. "Didn't I tell you? Grace and I are absolutely not getting a divorce." Chloe lowered her eyes resentfully, muttering, I know. How many times have you said it?" Leo fed Chloe his favorite fries and kissed her cheek. "Chloe, don't lose heart. Maybe there'll be a chance. I really want you to be my mom." Daniel frowned, chastising him. "Leo, who taught you that? Your mom is so good to you, don't talk nonsense." Leo became defiant, pouting as he yelled, "Clearly, Dad, you love Aunt. You should marry her." The one who isn't loved is the mistress. The moment he said that, it drew the attention of everyone nearby. Daniel quickly clapped a hand over his mouth. What are you saying, you little brat? Chloe quickly pulled Leo protectively into her arms. If you want to hit someone, hit me. Don't hit my precious Leo. Leo cried out, you're as bad as Mom. I hate you. I no longer cared to hear what Daniel had to say. The rain outside was growing heavier. I pulled out my phone and called Daniel. Hello, Daniel? We're back unexpectedly. Can you pick me up at the airport? Daniel instantly stood up, saying, flustered, now? Yes, I'm at the airport right now. I hung up after saying that. Chloe became anxious. Daniel, you promised to spend the evening with me. Daniel reluctantly kissed her, then took Leo's hand, preparing to leave. I'll try, okay? You're not taking me home then? Chloe asked, a little surprised. I'm worried your perfume will linger in the car. Just take a taxi, I'll cover the fare. Seeing his unyielding expression, Chloe could only pout and stomp her foot in agreement. Leo immediately gave her a big kiss. Chloe, don't be mad. After divorces that shrew, he can pick up only you. This scene pierced my heart deeply. Just the day before yesterday, when I left and tried to kiss his cheek, he had looked utterly disgusted. I'm a big boy now. You can't kiss me anymore, I'm scared you have germs. At the time, I just thought he was a clever little kid, but I never imagined he truly despised me in his heart. I didn't go to the airport to play along. Instead, I went straight home. I quickly rushed back to the bedroom and meticulously checked the valuables I kept hidden by the bed. Fortunately, after counting them, nothing was missing. I started checking my clothes. As soon as I opened the drawer, my lace nightgown was found crumpled and stuffed at the very bottom. A strong, lingering smell emanated from it. What it was unmistakable. Just as I was taking photos to document the evidence, a protruding corner of the cabinet jabbed me. I kicked it hard, and a secret compartment popped open. An inexplicable premonition of disaster flashed through my mind. I knelt down and pulled it open. Inside was a camera. When I turned it on, a series of scandalous photos and videos flashed before my eyes. They were filmed all over our home. Listening to their breaths and gasps, I was so nauseated I almost forgot to breathe. The camera then shifted to Maya and Daniel's bedroom, pointed directly at me as I slept. Only then did I realize that almost all the videos were recorded while I was sound asleep in the dead of night. An unspeakable despair rose within me. I shivered involuntarily, wanting to open my phone and record it. Suddenly, I heard a sound. The door opened. Honey, why are you back? Leo and I went to the airport and couldn't find you. Your phone didn't connect either. A flicker of shock passed through Daniel's eyes when he saw me, quickly replaced by anxiety. My phone died. The company car picked me up, and I forgot to tell you. I feigned composure, holding the nightgown, and discreetly pushed the secret compartment back into place. Daniel, I think I stuffed this nightgown at the very bottom last time I wore it. Could you please wash it for me? Daniel didn't notice anything unusual and secretly let out a breath of relief. I got it. Grace, we didn't spend Valentine's Day together yesterday, so here are the flowers and gifts to make up for it. He brought out a large bouquet of flowers from behind his back. The gift was beautifully wrapped. Daniel never forgot to surprise me on holidays like this. Designer bags, jewelry, anything other women had, I would have too. That's why I genuinely believed I had married into happiness. I feigned surprise and took them. Thank you, Daniel. We're an old married couple, you don't need to send all these. Leo, ever the sweet talker, chimed in. Dad said no matter how old you get, you'll always be the treasure he holds in his palm. Before, I would have thought Leo was simply influenced by Daniel's love for me. But now, I only saw that Daniel had taught him to be smooth and worldly wise. Still, I forced a smile, kissed his cheek, and told him to go do his homework. Daniel still washed my nightgown by hand. His friends used to laugh at him, the CEO of his company, for doing laundry for his wife at home. Back then, Daniel would retort with a look of utter conviction, I'm Grace's husband. If I don't wash them, who will? These are just simple tasks. But now, I watched him quietly, wondering how many times he had done the same for Chloe when I wasn't around. I casually put down the flowers, only to realize they were lilies, which I detested. I was allergic to lily pollen, and I remembered Chloe seemed to love lilies. I unwrapped the gift box. Inside were Dior earrings, but upon closer inspection, they were merely a promotional item from the latest collection. A bitter pain shot through my heart. The real gift had probably already been worn by someone else. Did think I only deserved a promotional item? I threw them all out by the door. Daniel came out, his hands wet. "Grace, what's wrong? Don't you like the gifts?" I stared into his eyes and said calmly, "I'm allergic to lilies." "You didn't know that?" A hint of panic flashed in Daniel's eyes. He wiped his wet hands on his clothes. "How could I not know? I ordered your favorite yellow roses. The shop must have made a mistake." "And the gifts? You don't like those either?" I no longer looked at him, saying with a flat expression, "I never wear cheap metal." "Did you send them to the wrong person?" I had never before taken away Daniel's easy out like this. He was completely at a loss. Suddenly, Chloe's surprised gasp came from outside the door. "Who threw out these beautiful lilies?" Daniel's body stiffened when he heard Chloe's voice. He instinctively stepped in front of me. My brow furrowed. I pushed him aside. "I threw them out." "What's it to you?" Chloe looked at the flowers with a pained expression, muttering, "Such beautiful lilies. If you don't want them, give them to me." After saying that, she casually glanced at Daniel, her eyes full of reproach. Daniel frantically signaled for her to leave, but Chloe simply pretended not to see him. "I forgot. You love collecting unwanted things. If you don't mind, take them home and care for them." Chloe's face changed. She opened her mouth to retort, then forced the words back down. She gave an awkward laugh. "I came to bring Leo some sweet and sour ribs. He'd been clamoring for them a few days ago, so I hurried them over." Hearing her voice, Leo ran out like a joyous fawn, clinging tightly to Chloe's leg. "Chloe, I could smell the aroma from afar. You finally made them for me." I watched the enthusiastic Leo with an expressionless face, remembering how, just recently, he had knocked all the sweet and sour ribs I'd stewed for hours onto the floor. He had said mine were too tough, not as good as before. It turned out he had already grown fond of someone else's cooking. I was just the discarded option. Chloe looked at me provocatively, then wrapped her arm around Leo. The two of them whispered intimately to each other. It was as if this home, this son, and Daniel all belonged to her. And I was the awkward outsider. "Since I'm already here, I'll feed Leo before I go," Chloe said, naturally pulling out a new pair of slippers and putting them on. What a coincidence, they were matching Daniel's slippers. I didn't stop her. With my arms crossed, I watched to see what else she would do. Chloe fed him bite by bite. The moment she lowered her head, I saw the necklace around her neck, shining brilliantly. It was the newly released limited edition necklace. It seemed the necklace I wasn't deemed worthy of wearing had long since found its way onto her. I struggled to calm my inner rage and said, "Chloe, my husband mentioned you took yesterday off and didn't come to work?" Chloe's hand, holding the serving spoon, trembled slightly, and she stammered nervously. "Yes, my elderly father at home was sick, so I spent the day taking care of him." I nodded thoughtfully. "Then a day's wages will be deducted, along with this month's bonus. Plus, for taking a day off that wasn't a regular weekend, there's an additional $3,000 deduction. By my calculations, your salary for this month will be practically nothing." Chloe shot to her feet, saying incredulously, "What? On what grounds?" I said calmly, "It's clearly written in the contract." "There are no grounds." Chloe's face turned a nasty shade of purple, her eyes filled with resentment. She unconsciously moved closer to Daniel. "But you can't deduct that much, Grace. I really need the money. My father is waiting for me to pay for his surgery." I met her gaze with a smile, pointing to her necklace. "That necklace is the latest limited edition model. Ms. Chloe has money to buy authentic luxury items but no money for her father's medical treatment? That's a bit too modest, don't you think?" Chloe was too choked to speak. She stomped her foot angrily, then recklessly grabbed Daniel's sleeve. "Mr. Daniel, look at her. She's bullying me." Daniel's brows furrowed tightly, his expression displeased. Grace, no matter how much you're targeting her, this is too much. After all, she works hard. Let some things go. Mom can't bully Chloe. Chloe works so hard, you can't talk about her like that. Leo, by her side, started crying and fussing, clinging tightly to Chloe and refusing to let go. I instantly became furious. I was his mother, so why did he keep taking someone else's side? Leo, come to Mom. I reached out to hug him, but he cried even louder, stubbornly refusing to come to me. Daniel said anxiously, Grace, don't force him. I immediately stood up, full of confusion. My son, whom I worked so hard to raise. How am I forcing him? Leo glared at me fiercely. You're not my mom. My mom isn't a shrew. Then he pulled out a translucent jade bracelet and was about to put it on Chloe's hand. Chloe, wear this bracelet, and then you'll be Dad's wife. Grandma said so. I looked closely. This priceless bracelet was left to me by Margaret on her deathbed. Just the day before she passed, her face pale and sallow, she implored me to work hand in hand with Daniel to uphold the future of the Liu family. She passed the bracelet, a family heirloom signifying the Liu daughter-in-law, to me, hoping I would bear this important responsibility. I had always kept it in the cabinet, reluctant to wear it. Leo knew perfectly well how important it was to me. I was furious. I tried to get it back. Give that to Mom. You can't just mess with it. But held it up high, his eyes fixed only on Chloe. No! I don't want you to be my mom anymore. I want Chloe to be my mom. Watching the bracelet about to be placed on her hand, the smile at the corner of Chloe's lips was impossible to hide. Leo, thank you for your kind thought, but I might not be qualified to be your mom. Her eyes shimmered with tears, but deep down, her triumph was practically overflowing. Why can't you just let the child play? Grace, why have you become so unreasonable and dramatic? Daniel unhappily stepped in front of them, as if I were an unwelcome intruder in our own home. My nose stung. I was his wife for 8 years, through thick and thin. I forced myself to be calm and extended my hand. I don't care what you two are doing, give me back the bracelet. It's of paramount importance to me and to the Liu family. Chloe, however, got bolder, dangling it in her hand. I think the material and luster are quite ordinary. If you don't want to give it to me, you don't have to resort to guilt tripping, do you? Aren't you just trying to make Mr. Daniel feel guilty? My eyes red. I glared fiercely. All the hurt and indignation in my heart erupted, and I rushed forward, heedless of everything, to snatch it back. Leo gave this to me. What right do you have to take it? Exactly. I gave it to Chloe. In the struggle between the three of us, the bracelet suddenly fell to the ground with a harsh clatter, shattering into sparkling fragments in an instant. My mind exploded. Watching his dying wish being destroyed before my eyes, I slapped Chloe without a second thought. You stole my husband, my son, and ruined my family. What else do you want? Daniel lunged to her side, hugging Chloe protectively. He looked up at me, his eyes bloodshot. Grace, why can't you talk things through instead of resorting to violence? What's the difference between you and an irrational shrew now? The next second, a resounding slap almost knocked me off my feet. My heart turned to ashes as I looked at Daniel, understanding that our 8 loving years had ultimately dissolved into nothing but a bubble. Daniel, we're getting a divorce. I hope you two are loving and devoted until old age. The pain on my face was not enough to erase the disappointment in my heart for Daniel. I slowly stood up. Daniel seemed to come to his senses, a flicker of remorse in his eyes. He reached out to help me up. I coldly slapped his hand away. Keep your hypocritical kindness. What she broke was the heirloom your mother left me for the Liu family. Daniel was utterly stunned, freezing in place. How could that be the jade bracelet? I no longer had the strength to explain to him. I simply picked up my bag, wanting to leave this home. Daniel called out anxiously, Grace, where are you going? Chloe, however, cried out in pain, Mr. Daniel, my hand is bleeding. It hurts so much. Daniel immediately turned around to examine her wound with concern. Leo, worried, blew on it, I'll blow on it, and it won't hurt anymore. Neither of them paid any attention to my departure. After sorting out my company affairs, I went back to my hometown. What? You're divorcing Daniel? Are you insane? Deborah screamed. Didn't you strongly disapprove of him and me back then? Who knew he was so rich back then, or serious about you? He's handsome and wealthy, what more could you ask for? He cheated on me. He was having an affair with the nanny in our home. What man doesn't stray? Did you do your part? Did you take good care of Leo and keep him from worrying? I have my own career. Leo has been taught by him, and that nanny to be unlike a child. He lies to me constantly. Then that's your fault. You didn't prioritize your family, which is why another woman captivated him. You should quit your job and stay home to be a good wife and mother. A nameless fury choked in my chest, unable to escape. I looked at Robert, who stood by, his face expressionless. You think so too? Sis, you're so old, who would want you if you go through with a divorce? I'm getting married soon. Will that sound good if news of your divorce gets out? You should examine your own role if your family is falling apart. My heart was instantly doused with ice water. I couldn't believe my brother, whom I had doted on since childhood, would say such a thing. Deborah, growing increasingly displeased with me, threw my luggage out the door. You're part of the Liu family. How shameful for you to come back crying. If you have any backbone, then establish your rightful place as his wife. Can you really abandon Leo? I walked down the road, feeling utterly defeated, and the scorching sun seemed to sting tears from my eyes. I awkwardly wiped my face as my phone rang again. It was Daniel, calling relentlessly. I paused, thought for a long time, and then answered. Grace, don't be angry. There's really nothing going on between Chloe and me. Come home. I really don't want to lose you. Leo is crying and says he misses you too. I was silent for a moment, ultimately unsure what to say. Why aren't you speaking? Come back, and I'll write you a written promise. I guarantee I'll never let you misunderstand anything again. I smiled silently. Something so clearly undeniable could be whitewashed by him into a misunderstanding. I just went back to my hometown for a bit. I'll be flying home soon. Then I'll pick you up at the airport. Wait for me. Daniel's voice was noticeably much more excited, just like when we were first in love. My nose stung, and tears traced a weak path down my cheeks. Okay. The words had barely left my mouth when I saw Daniel, standing out from the crowd, holding Leo's hand. He walked towards me with long, brisk strides, his broad-shouldered and well-built physique instantly drawing many eyes. Grace, you must be tired. Mom, I'll help you with your luggage, Leo said sweetly, pulling my suitcase. It seemed we had returned to being the loving and harmonious family we once were. I looked at the sincerity in their eyes. Did I really have to abandon my principles and pretend nothing had happened? Daniel came from a good family and was handsome. He was usually attentive and accommodating towards me, always granting my wishes. We also had a smart and clever son. Although he had been misled by Chloe, if properly educated, there was still a chance he could improve. As long as Daniel could change his ways and prioritize our family, he would still be a good husband and father. I hesitated, asking myself, was this truly my best option? Let's go to that sushi restaurant. I've already reserved a table. Daniel considerately buckled my seatbelt, and Leo tried different ways to tell me jokes. But as we were nearing our destination, Daniel received a call. I glanced and saw it was a call from his assistant, so I didn't say anything. Daniel listened with a serious expression, his eyebrows slowly furrowing. Okay, I understand. Then he looked at me apologetically. Grace, I'm really sorry. A company project fell through, and I have to go back now. I smiled. Leo and I can go with you. I'm not very hungry anyway. No, you're already so tired. Why don't you and Leo go eat? Leo immediately shouted, I'll go eat with Mom. I want to go with Mom. I looked at the father and son and nodded. Then drop us off at the next intersection. We'll take a taxi. Daniel seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, gave us a few instructions, and then drove off towards his company. When I took Leo to the sushi restaurant, he was a little sullen. I ordered many of his favorite dishes and asked him where he wanted to go play later. He only nodded or shook his head dismissively, saying nothing else. I remembered when he first learned to speak, sweetly calling me mom and sharing his curiosity about the world with me. At that time, I was so thankful to have such a lovely son, but in just a few short days, we had become so distant. I ordered his favorite chocolate sundae. When I pushed it towards him, his face was filled with disbelief. "Mom, I don't eat it. I'll get cavities." He watched my expression carefully. I smiled and stroked his head. "It's okay. Chloe didn't mind when she gave it to you, so of course, I won't either." I pulled out my phone and listened to the recording from the surveillance device I just placed in the car, hearing Chloe acting coy with Daniel. Their destination was a boutique hotel. I dialed 911, "Officer, I want to make an official complaint with my real name. My husband is soliciting a prostitute. I had someone pick up Leo, and then I said to him, 'You'll have a new mom soon. Are you happy?'" When I arrived at the police station to give my statement, Daniel had his head down, while Chloe was still vehemently trying to argue her way out of it. "He's my husband. Why are you arresting us?" The officer beside her shook his head helplessly at her words, then turned to question Daniel. But's eyes were vacant, and he was muttering softly until he saw me appear. Then, his eyes lit up. "Grace, you're here. Testify for me that we weren't in that kind of relationship." He desperately grabbed my hand, clutching at a lifeline. Without thinking, I shook him off, saying coldly, "You can't even take responsibility for your own actions? How many times have you been to a hotel with her? How much money have you transferred to her?" Daniel instantly understood. "You called the police?" I ignored his question, turned, and handed a USB drive to the police officer. I took a few deep breaths and slowly said, "Officer, this contains videos of him illegally filming me. I hope you will investigate this thoroughly." Daniel's face went ashen, his lips trembling as he looked at Chloe. "Didn't I tell you to destroy all of these? Why did you keep them?" Chloe glared at me fiercely, saying nonchalantly, "I thought she would never find out right under her nose." Daniel was too enraged to speak. "You." He quickly put on a pitiful expression and looked at me, saying with deep remorse, "Grace, I truly had a moment of madness. I beg you, please forgive me. There will never be a next time. From now on, I'll be devoted only to you." I looked at him with an impassive expression, as if he were a complete stranger. My face was full of disgust. "Daniel, your devotion is far too brief and worthless. I don't need it. I already found out the day I came back, but I gave you chance after chance. I forgave you repeatedly, yet you still chose her and abandoned me. You too treated me like a fool, deceiving me, having an affair while I slept, and even instigating our son to lie to cover for you." Daniel frantically avoided my gaze, his body trembling, unsure where to hide. "Actually, you don't love her at all, let alone me. So let's get a divorce." His eyes slowly filled with despair. I threw a copy of the divorce papers at him, turned, and left without a second thought. "From now on, we'll have nothing more to do with each other. I don't even want our son anymore. I wish you three a happy family." From then on, I threw myself entirely into my work. My desperate dedication even surprised my boss, Ethan. He handed me a cup of coffee, and I drank it without hesitation. He said, shocked, "Are you planning on not sleeping at all today?" Only then did I look up, startled by the oppressive darkness outside. Had I been working this late already? I looked at Ethan, a little embarrassed. "Sorry, I lost track of time when I got busy." Ethan offered a friendly smile and shrugged. "It's good that my employees love to work. It's getting late, I'll drive you home." Although I didn't want to spend more time with my boss, I nodded in agreement, considering how unsafe it was so late. Ethan called out towards the office, "We're going home, Caleb." To my surprise, a cute little boy emerged, looking to be about the same age as Leo. I was a little confused. I hadn't heard that he was married or had children. Ethan laughed. "He's my sister's child." In the car, Caleb sat sensibly in the back seat with me, blinking his innocent big eyes. "Auntie, how did you accidentally hurt yourself here? Does it hurt?" I froze for a moment, looking at the scratch I'd gotten while fighting for the bracelet. A warmth flowed into my heart. I shook my head vigorously. "It doesn't hurt. Thank you for your concern." After hearing me, A hint of sadness appeared in Caleb's eyes. I got a similar scratch a few days ago, but my mom used to tell me a real man has to be strong and shouldn't cry. I didn't cry, but Mom never came to praise me again. I looked at Ethan, surprised. He gave a pained smile. My sister and brother-in-law were in a plane accident recently. Hearing that, a wave of pity rose in my heart. How could fate play such a cruel joke on this sweet child? My throat constricted. I didn't know what comforting words to offer, but sensibly hugged me, saying in a soft, childlike voice, I know Mom and Dad went somewhere very, very far away, so I won't cry. You don't have to worry about me. My nose stung. I hugged the small boy tightly. Yes, they'll always be thinking of you, sweetie. He paused, then giggled. You called me sweetie, just like my mom. I think you're very much like my mom. I comforted him. Then when you miss your mom, you can look at me. I'd like to be your mom too, to love and cherish you. His eyes sparkled like the starry sky when he heard that. I couldn't help but think of Leo. There was a time when he would cry and look for his mom too. How had he changed so much later on? After arriving at my destination, I hugged Caleb, just as I was about to wave goodbye to him. An incredulous voice rang out. Grace, whose child are you holding? I looked up and saw an infuriated Daniel, still holding Leo's hand. Ethan heard the commotion and came out to ask what was happening. Is that your husband? I shook my head firmly, instructing him and Caleb to leave first. But this action infuriated Daniel. His eyes red with anger. He yanked my hand and asked incredulously, I'm your husband. Leo is your son. You can't just abandon us. I struggled with all my might to break free. Seeing this, Ethan immediately rushed to my side and pushed Daniel away. Can't you see she doesn't want you? What kind of man are you? Ethan bravely stood in front of me, his gaze resolute. Don't you dare touch my mom! Leo shrieked upon hearing him. She's not your mom. She's my mom. After saying that, he ran towards me, tears streaming down his face, wanting me to hug him. Mom, I missed you so much these past few days you were gone. Please come back, Mom. I scoffed coldly, pushing him away imperceptibly. I'm not your mom. What about your Chloe mom? Why aren't you thinking of her? Daniel's expression changed. He cried out anxiously, these past few days without you, Grace, I've truly realized that you're the only one I love. So please come back. From now on, Leo and I will be your most reliable support. I waved my hand, indicating there was no need. One is a man who cheats and then regrets it, and the other is a son who constantly sides with outsiders. I don't want either of you anymore. Let's just leave it at that. Don't make a spectacle of yourselves in front of others. I turned away without a trace of hesitation. The father and son tried to follow, but Caleb blocked them. I was suddenly grateful that with them, I was able to escape completely unscathed. The next day at work, I prepared some pastries to give to Ethan, to express my thanks. To my surprise, his office was filled with bouquets of flowers. He stood there, frowning, reading a card. I was a little surprised. Seeing me, he shook his head helplessly. They're all from your ex-husband and son. I was afraid they'd upset you, so I put them all here. I felt a surge of gratitude. I hadn't expected him to be so considerate and thoughtful. Ethan opened his mouth, deliberated for a long time, then asked, So, there's truly no possibility between you and him anymore? I shook my head firmly and briefly told him the whole story. After listening, his face was filled with shock and pity. I thought he was deeply in love with you, but I never expected him to be this kind of person. Then, as if something occurred to him, he awkwardly scratched his head. If he ever bothers you again, I'll help you get rid of him. I was amused and nodded gratefully. Suddenly, a commotion erupted outside. Ethan and I quickly went to check. Outside the company building, a child was crying, looking for his mother, while another woman was pulling at him. I looked closely. It was a miserable-looking Leo, and a ferocious-faced Chloe. The moment Leo saw me, his eyes lit up with hope. He sobbed loudly, Mom, save me. I don't want her to be my mom. I was puzzled. Didn't you like her the most back then? Even saying I was a shrew and an old hag who wasn't good enough for your dad? Leo cried even louder. She tricked me. She said if she became my mom, she'd give me Sundays every day, and I wouldn't have to study and could just play all the time. But now she yells at me every day, and if Dad doesn't come home, she tells me to get out. If this had happened before, I would have certainly comforted him, told him not to be scared, and promised to drive that bad person away. But now, I felt nothing. I knew he was a wolf who could never be tamed, always ready for another betrayal. Chloe listened, then fiercely clapped a hand over his mouth. What are you talking about? Haven't I been good enough to you at home? Now you're running to this woman to complain. You're just like your dad. Both of you are fickle and disloyal men. Leo weakly waved his hand at me. But just as I'd had enough of the drama and was about to leave, Daniel suddenly pulled Chloe away and slapped her twice across the face. The sharp cracks left Chloe stunned. How dare you hit me? Didn't you say you'd cherish me for life? How long has it been? And you're already hitting me. Chloe clutched her face, her eyes staring sadly at Daniel. Daniel ruthlessly snarled, you know exactly what tricks you used to seduce me. If you hadn't gotten drunk and crawled into my bed that first time, would I have fallen for your scheme? You just wanted to break up my home. He finished speaking, then turned, looking at me with tender eyes. Grace, I finally realize how terribly wrong I've been. I only ask that for our son's sake. You give me one more chance. Let me make things right, please? With that, he took out a jewelry box. Inside lay a fine jade bracelet, its quality and luster just as good as the previous one. Grace, let's forget the past and start anew. This is the only one like it in the world, and no one deserves it more than you. Leo cheered happily, Mommy and Daddy, make up. Then we'll be the happiest family again. I looked at Daniel and Leo, their faces so earnest. How much it resembled the beautiful ending I had always dreamed of. Sadly, my 8 years of youth had been wasted, and I had finally seen this hypocritical person for who he truly was. If I don't learn from my mistakes, then it's my own fault. With that thought, I shook my head resolutely. Chloe gnashed her teeth and said, I can't believe you're even more heartless than I am, abandoning your own son and Daniel. I smiled faintly. What a dog has carried off is tainted. I wouldn't want it back. Daniel tried to grab me and say something, but Ethan stepped forward and blocked him. I've already called the police. Harassing her repeatedly like this. You're no man at all. Daniel, unwilling to give up, could only drag Leo away, ignoring Chloe's frantic, humiliated shouts. Chloe turned, intending to attack me again, but the arriving police officers subdued and took her away. It was because previous video footage had captured her years of theft at my home. And her abuse of Leo these past few days meant she deserved punishment even more. Seeing everything finally settle, I sighed in relief. Ethan came to my side to comfort me. After some peaceful days had passed, Ethan brought me good news. The international headquarters is selecting new talent. Would you be willing to go? I immediately stopped organizing my documents, thrilled. I'll go. I'll go! How could I miss such a great opportunity? Once I'm at headquarters, I believe I'll definitely achieve a better life with my own abilities. Ethan nodded approvingly. I knew you had the courage. I'm excited to see you forge your own path. Ethan, who seemed to only half understand, clapped his hands excitedly, and, you're amazing. I laughed at him, picking him up and nuzzling his little cheek. I didn't tell anyone about this. I had already expended all my energy and affection here. I just wanted to leave quietly, without a trace of potential return. But still noticed something amiss when I got my passport and quickly called, pressing me about who I was leaving with. How could you be so cruel, abandoning Daniel and your son to go live a carefree life on your own? Hearing her aggressive words, I felt like my head was going to explode from the noise. I've already divorced him. Our son is his now. Is it wrong for me to want to pursue my own life? You always demanded that I be obedient and tolerant, but my repeated forbearance only resulted in his betrayal. I've already wasted 8 years, I don't want to waste the rest of my life. Mom, I want to forge a new path for myself. If you don't understand, please don't stand in my way. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. I said nothing more and hung up. What followed was a barrage of calls from Daniel. I knew without a doubt that Deborah had told him. I didn't hesitate to block his number, then canceled my phone account. I couldn't let anyone or anything here stand in the way of my promising future. With everything prepared, the day of my departure arrived. As I dragged my bags and luggage alone, Ethan appeared, holding Caleb. He naturally took my suitcase and walked with me toward the boarding gate. I was surprised. "Why are you two here?" Caleb happily threw himself into my arms. "Uncle said he wasn't comfortable with you going alone, so we're coming with you." My eyes widened. I looked at Ethan, astonished. "You guys are going too?" Ethan sheepishly rubbed his nose. "I just figured, if you're leaving, I don't want to stay here either. Might as well go with you." I smiled, taking his hand, and we started to walk forward. Caleb piped up beside us, "Uncle likes Aunt. Uncle likes you." As the three of us joked around, a reluctant call came from behind us. "Grace." I turned to see a haggard Daniel. He seemed to have lost a lot of weight, his jacket hung loosely on his shoulders, and his once straight back was now stooped. Ethan immediately stepped in front of me, glaring at him with hostility. "What do you want now? We're divorced, any further harassment is illegal." Daniel gave a bitter smile. "I'm not here to win you back. I just couldn't bear it, and I wanted to see you one last time." I looked at his hollowed cheeks and unshaven face, sighing, "Just say what you need to say. Don't waste our time." Daniel's eyes were red and his voice trembled, filled with reluctance and regret. "I know you'll never forgive me, but I still love you. Perhaps I'll spend my entire life in repentance, and that's what I deserve, with no regrets. I just wanted to tell you, I'm sorry, Grace, and I love you." Daniel then pulled a letter from his pocket, choking up, "This is from Leo. I sent him back to my hometown. He said he's very sorry to you. Even though you're his most beloved mom, he hurt and deceived you repeatedly. He hopes that when he grows up, you'll still be willing to see him. He cries with me every night, thinking about how much you must hate us. But as long as you are happy, that's the best for us." I sighed faintly after hearing him, and took the letter. But there was no longer any sorrow or pain in my heart, only the release that comes with acceptance. I nodded at Daniel, smiling at him one last time. "I understand. I wish you well in the future. I hope we never meet again," I thought to myself. Then I stepped onto my brand new future, without a single lingering attachment. A gentle breeze swept by, as if drawing back the curtain on my future. Thank you for reading. Faced with something like this, would you choose forgiveness or fight back? Let me know your answer in the comments. Backhand index pointing down. Subscribe to our channel for the next episode.